next part with our speaker. I do want to, I missed a sponsor earlier. We have a gold sponsor, Mark Diggs and Trad Design Group, so wanted to make sure that I recognize Mark as well. Thank you for the sponsorship. All right, we have a great speaker coming up, and I'm excited to hear about the chain of flowers and where the title of the presentation comes from. But Will Fitzner, who hails from Mount Airy, is a Mount Airy High grad. Started a business back in 2014 while he was a student at NC State. We have a lot of Wolfpack, alum with parents, and it's good. And what started as a way to kind of create some homemade birthday and Christmas gifts, you'll see it on me and his wife Caitlin over there have their little badges, turned into a side income and then helped him work his way through college. He's a son of a local doctor. He graduated from NC State with a degree in biomedical engineering, and then earned a job as a technology consultant with a little company you may have heard called Deloitte. However, his passion for the side project and the creations that he's been working on kept going. And he decided, in his 20s that he wanted to see what he could do and see what he could make that happen. So he left his consulting job, and the rest, as they say, is history and/or still to come. So we'll let Will talk about his company and the Chain of Flowers, and please give him a warm welcome.
And do you think I need the mic if I speak like this?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to come down here if you guys are okay with that and walk around. But it is a pleasure being here. Caitlin and I, we got in late last night. We were hoping to be there last night. We heard there were wonderful s'mores and a rendition of the traditional Hershey's chocolate and marshmallow and boxed graham crackers. So I hope you all had a nice time there. Today, we wanted to talk about life and talk about the beauties of life and the flowers that we all have in our daily lives, and seeing those flowers and seeing the opportunity that presents itself to each of us. You're in this line of work for a reason. You have a calling for the reason you're with CPN and what's brought you to see the need in the rural communities, and I feel that shared interest. So I'd like to share what I call chain of flowers with you, and share my journey along the way, and also reminisce along the reasons and the events that took you to the path that brought us all sitting here right now, and that guided us through this life to CPN and living a life of service. As Aaron said, I'm from Surry County, Mount Airy, and many of you may be familiar with Surry County, and may have also, I heard, done a project in Pilot Mountain. We're all neighbors in Surry County. We truly see it that way, and visiting each other's recreational activities, the cities. We just love it. In Mount Airy, we've been so blessed in Mount Airy to have leadership and economic drive that many of the rural communities that you all visit may not have had the push for. So Mount Airy has taken it in stride, and I'm very proud to have been raised in Mount Airy. This is how I grew up in Surry County. Lots of jobs, lots of booming businesses. You may recognize a couple names: Long Bassett, Renfro. These corporations were booming when I was growing up, and now this is what the list looks like. A lot of rural communities, we've seen this. We've seen the decline of business and the idea of transferring businesses and making them more efficient and lower costs in other areas other than our small communities. This has taken a huge toll on these communities, the communities that you had professionalism, you had young people, you had a path for them to go and transform into. So this is some of my backing, and when I was growing up and going through high school, I was a good student. So society told me because I was good in high school and I got good grades and I was good at science and math, young man, you're going to college. You're going to be a doctor or an engineer. So I said, okay, all right. So I applied to engineering schools and started reviewing and touring, and I wound up at NC State. NC State was one of the first times that I had that feeling. You know, when you go somewhere and you can feel the energy and you can feel the path that you're meant to take. You can feel the difference in the calling that you have. And I was also very fortunate to have to be incorporated into the General H. Hugh Shelton Leadership Scholarship. And this is where my leadership skills and the values-based leadership really came together, which was one of the first flowers for me that's seeing, you know what, I can come back to these rural communities and I can make a difference. So NC State was the first time I felt a branded community. So we all come from a small town, so we know community. You know, we know the camaraderie of knowing your neighbors, you know, knowing who's doing what, where people are envisioning themselves. NC State was the first place that I saw a unity in branding and business. Everyone's wearing wolves on their jackets. They got wolves on their mugs. They got them hanging in their home, and it started to click. I said, okay, you know, I knew the small town vibes, and now I was learning the corporate, the business side of it. And the Shelton Leadership Center, this is where I was provided such immaculate opportunities with this center. I got to go overseas, do service projects, and no electricity, bringing solar energy in there, teaching sustainable farming. Well, we even, not only overseas, but General Shelton is from a very rural town in North Carolina. And part of that was we went to rural towns and we conducted weekend service projects. So we would plan, we had a planning committee. So it seems very, very similar on a college level, not as a professional level. We would go in and plan these projects and see how could we help each of these rural communities. So this was just building. The momentum in me was just building. The flowers were blooming. And I had so much energy from that Shelton Leadership Program and seeing the community at NC State that I was getting affiliated with. So, you know, I was in the engineering school a year in, and biomedical engineering was top of the list for, you know, up and coming fields. They were doing prosthetics. They were like growing ears in petri dishes, stem cells, and I was like, that seems cool. You know, that's the future. So that was my next flower that just bloomed in front of me, and I got access to this really cool lab. This is the guy on the treadmill. That's Dr. Sawicki. He was basically building a real life Iron Man, but you know, for not only military and exponential purposes, but also for disabilities. And so I used to want to be a vet when I was younger. I love animals. And so what drew me to this particular project was they were working with the NC State Vet School. And the NC State Vet School was doing this research on dachshunds, these cute little guys. But like, look at this arch, man. That's defying gravity. And so dachshunds, they have these issues with their spinal cords. And so the NC State was doing this research on how can we do surgery on these dogs to help these issues that they develop. And our job is BME, we were testing their gait, you know, their walking pattern before and after surgery, using all these crazy programs and we had the dogs on the treadmills, like the real life, like put a bone in front of the dog. Yeah, we did that. So it was really fun. It was great research. It was the dream project for myself as a BME. However, I didn't feel that same feeling, that same energy that I got when I was on these service projects in our rural communities, and this same feeling. I didn't have that. And I started to realize that feeling. I started to feel my picker and feel the energy difference. And I got to my junior year and I started feeling really down. And I was moving in. I had a great summer with the Shelton Leadership Center, doing another project. And I was like, oh man, I'm going back to my engineering courses. Like, I just had a dream position. Is this my life? And then all of a sudden, another bloom. I move into my dorm, my residence, and directly below my room was this entrepreneur innovation hall, entrepreneurship initiative garage. So if you look at this, we have a 3D printer up here, we have a workshop, we have meeting spaces to meet with investors, we have the ecosystem for starting businesses. I was like, wait, entrepreneurship? What's that? I knew nothing about business. You know, I knew how to solve for a dog's gate and all this other programming. I knew how to do that, and I knew how to buy stuff too. I knew how to be a consumer, but I didn't understand the back end, what was going on in the background. And this program shone a spotlight on it, front and center. It introduced me to others who truly believed that they could change the world. They created this community within NC State of thinkers and doers, that they could see the problems, they could see what they wanted to change, and they created a structure to show you the curriculum in order to change it. So a couple months later, this was me just going at it in the garage. There was a laser cutter there, and I fell in love with it. I fell so much in love with it. I would go to my courses, I'd go to my labs, I would take my work right back to the laser. I'd sit there and I would just do my homework, do my studies while I was learning how to design, these North Carolina cutouts and the Tuffy head, home decor, and all of that. And the mission of this entrepreneurial garage and this other community that I got involved with was linking the leadership skills with entrepreneurial skills to implement change. So that was really cool. Things started clicking for me. And the reason I was all dressed up here was because I was pitching. I was pitching to investors. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what a business plan was, but I was gonna pitch. And this was it seems, I was very happy at this point. But I came out of the investor meeting and all thumbs down. They were very disappointed. They heard the name Laser Edge. They saw Will as a biomedical engineer, and they assumed that I was creating a new laser technology or a new way of doing that. So he was pumped, and then it's just like as soon as I started pulling out the Tuffy heads and
must have been Carolina guys.
I think it must have been in the triangle of some sorts. So this is what I started making. I was just having a field day over there, making coasters, phone cases. I was engraving bricks, the brickyard and everything. Take bricks from there. Just all sorts. I was making tables, like all sorts of crazy stuff. This was my workshop, and then I got so busy that they kicked me out of the garage. Nicely, they said, "Will, you're using it too much. You need to use it only at nights." So I then started having to cut from like midnight to 6 a.m. when no one else was using it, and I was like, "This is unsustainable. I can't do this." So I wound up renting my own space off campus. I used my money from waiting tables in my hometown in high school and bought my own laser cutter and just started going at it. And my coursework was on the side. I was still doing a little research here and there, but this was where my passion was. I even hit up the flea markets to sell my crappy projects, my lower end stuff, because I was doing everything I could to make ends meet and make this thing work. And then I realized the community. I love community, and they all have a brand. They're all wearing this wolf around here. I'm just gonna make as many wolves as I can, and it worked. I finally figured out how to get out of the flea markets, how to truly start marketing my product and achieve the entrepreneurial niche, create my niche, and this was it. As well as working with corporate sponsors like Duke, that was something we were really proud of at the time. All while I was also working on a biomedical project to wound irrigation, so cleaning out a wound. We also developed a better system than this. Has anyone had a laceration, a cut, and got stitches? Yeah, they probably had something like this. So we developed what we thought was a better one, and anyways, we wound up not bringing it to market because I realized I wasn't interested in it. And I realized the power of truly being passionate about something, and that is everything. If you don't love it, if you're not passionate about it, it doesn't matter how much wealth or how much opportunity that you may see. We have feelings. Our bodies have feelings. There's a reason for it. And so after all of that, Laser Edge was only making a couple $1,000s a month, and it wasn't a sustainable business yet. So I graduated and I said, okay, it's time to get a big boy job, and I entered the world of consulting. So I went to Deloitte, I joined one of these tall high-rise buildings, and started going on client project after client project after client project. I was on planes to Costa Rica, California, and just like, it seemed like the dream. It seemed, based on what society told me, I was like, I have the dream job. But I was miserable, guys. Like, I saw the feelings that I had at State, and so I started planning my escape. Every plane ride that I had on the way there, I was planning, okay, how do I make this thing work? How do I bring this business back to my hometown? How do I make the logistics work? How do I attain licensing? And I finally planned my escape. And then I launched. I said, okay, we're going to focus on this collegiate market. So we just started collecting as many licenses as we could, and going into all the college bookstores. So we started selling wholesale. Everyone knows wholesale. You're selling at like 50% retail. So that's the market that we took. We said, all right, we're just going to sell to as many bookstores as we could. And it was the help of my community that really brought us to this next level. I was buying the material at Lowe's Hardware. I was just buying at such a large scale. We linked up with a custom cabinet worker in my hometown in Mount Airy. The tribal knowledge that our communities in rural North Carolina have is incredible. But sometimes no one person has all of the resources, just like what you guys are doing here. You're bringing a group of professionals. Everyone has their niche, and you come together and you bring a project to fruition. So we saw that with a real business, and it was really exciting for us. So this is us in the cabinet shop getting to work, learning how to really work with wood and not just spray cans and crappy plywood from Lowe's. No offense. And then all of a sudden, COVID hits. And our wholesale strategy of selling to bookstores, it doesn't work when the colleges are closed. And there's no one coming to the bookstores and the fan shops. So I'm like, oh no, we're basically going under. We're losing money on rent. We have no income. And then another flower arose in the depths of sadness and uncertainty. Yes. What is YES? It stands for Young Entrepreneurs of Surrey County. And so I got this opportunity. I started teaching entrepreneurship, and I had spare time, and the entrepreneurship, they just fired, or the entrepreneurship teacher quit or something, so they needed the gap. If you guys, is anyone in the school systems here, like affiliated with school? Okay, so in our school systems in North Carolina, I don't know the rest of the nation, entrepreneurship is not really talked about at a high school level. It's a very state-mandated curriculum and very structured as that. So entrepreneurship, there's not a lot of focus on it. And so I started teaching there and realizing that the curriculum was very bland and very cut and dry, and it didn't replicate the real life of what it really took to launch a business. And so we started teaching, and then we also launched this nonprofit called Yes Surrey. And the goal was to provide students with the mentorship, the curriculum, the opportunity, all the knowledge and support that they need to get a business in high school off the ground. We all as humans have ideas. Those ideas start to become suppressed over time with society and with fear and with negativity. But these high schoolers, I don't know if anyone's been in the high school or have children in high school, but they are so bright and they have so much passion and so many ideas. So we said, all right, let's teach these kids how to pursue them and not to fear and to go with it. So a little bit about entrepreneurship. So high schools, everyone knows high school sports, right? Yeah, they're huge, okay? So we push sports like no other. And yes, I get it. I was involved in all sorts of sports too. I get the camaraderie and everything. But if you look at sports from a ranking system and logistically the career path and where you're going. So 10s and 20s, like you're there, you're having fun, you're building camaraderie, right? But you're not really going on anywhere after high school. Okay, if you're ranking on a grading scale of 100, let's go to Tom Brady and LeBron James. Everyone knows them, right? I'd say they're 100. Does everyone agree with me on that? They're at the top of the top, okay? So if we get to the 30s and 40s in athletics, you're doing well and maybe you'll go to a D3 school or, take your paths. Point is it's very, very hard to make it to that top level, but yet we spend so much energy in sports and promoting sports and so many resources pushing sports. It's like a curve. It's like, it's a peak and it's very low margin of success. Looking at entrepreneurship now, though, all right, everyone knows these two guys at the top. We're going to rank them as hundreds, okay? It's so much more realistic to become an entrepreneur, but yet we're not investing resources and we're not pushing this to our youth. You could be a 30, 40, 50, and you can support your own income, especially now in the tech revolution with our phones. I could be running a business right now, off this device. So we're in a totally different age where we can push this. And this is one of the greatest opportunities of our era. So we have a problem in our youth. We have our problem in especially our rural communities where the traditional textbook of teaching entrepreneurship, it doesn't work. It's bland. It doesn't represent the real life of running businesses. You all get it. You see these rural communities. You see what it takes, the project planning. You see the community effort that it takes to bring it to fruition. And so they need this engaging curriculum. This is what, whenever we start to talk to students about this is what they think. They're like, okay, this is my goal. I'm just going to do this, and this. This is reality, guys. There are tigers, there are bears, there are sharks, there are tornadoes. It's a mess, but it's a beautiful mess. It is life. And when you're doing what you enjoy, those things, the tornadoes and the sharks and the things that life throws at you, they're meant for you. They're meant for you to overcome. And they bring you and they blossom you into who you become. So anyways, we realized that this coursework is really bland, so we started creating a structure for how to teach these young people, and we created this really cool structure where we show them how to find their purpose, how to find something that they're passionate about, and how to make an impact on it. How not just to think about it, but how to act on it. Then we go into ideation phase. How do you solve the problem? Let's ideate. What do you want to come up with? We determine which option is best for them. Then we learn how to get it out to marketing and who. We teach them how to operate, finance, and how to actually make it all happen. And then, after all this, we come up with a competition. It's like a high school Shark Tank. Does everyone know what Shark Tank is? Yeah. So it's Shark Tank, but they don't have to give up equity. Sounds nice, right? So, anyways, we have a real structure here. This is operating. This is operating in Surrey County. The 7 high schools are going through this program. We're all banding together, realizing that it's our counties, it's our communities that have this most benefit in this new society that we live in. We can band together and we can do work together. There are economic committees. This is taking that to a high school level and taking them through the entrepreneurial process. And we didn't do it alone. I took a teacher cadet course in high school. I knew nothing about really the curriculum of teaching. I felt a natural pull. So we paired up with these guys from NC State and this ASAP program of real professionals who did this for their careers and who have a passion in it. So we planned this whole curriculum and process with some really great help. it's not the entrepreneurial experience, it's experience. What you guys do in the communities, it's very hard to teach that. And I was speaking to a couple of you before when COVID hit, it's very hard to do remote. Same thing with learning the entrepreneurial experience. You gotta be boots on the ground. You gotta be in it. And so we really try to turn that and create the curriculum around hands-on learning. We have assignments, we have projects, and we have a new way of assessing coursework. It's self-graded, it's peer-graded, it's all based on the individual. So it's a very new concept that we have going on here. It's very exciting. But plain and simple, our youth, it sounds so clear, but our youth are our future. And we know that, but we don't invest in it. We're investing in other things. And I think it's time to invest in these young blossoms and let them blossom the way that they want to blossom. Because in the world of opportunities, in the world of technology that's going on right now, we've never seen a more opportune time to launch crazy ideas and to start businesses that we may have never heard of before. 21st century jobs, like this is the traditional jobs. Our youth, many that I've spoken to don't see themselves in these traditional jobs. They have these. We have totally new ways to achieve the things that they want to achieve, and we push patience. We're not on a timeline. Although our current systems, they make it societal standards seem like you have this, then you do this, then you go to college, then you get a job, then you get married, then you buy a house. Like, there's no timeline. Patience. Like, you have yours, you have your idea, you have your goal, and you go with it. You're on your own timeline. Me especially, I'm riding a snail, guys. I'm still in my parents' basement. I'm taking it. I'm taking it with ease, and I'm taking my journey one step at a time and seeing where it takes me. These are the awards. This is a big check. You know, they win real money from this competition, up to $2,500 right now. However, with fundraising, we're getting into fundraising now, so hopefully we're going to increase that even more in the future. We bet on the jockey, not the horse. These students, odds are the idea that they come up with in this competition, odds are right now it's not going to be the end-all be-all that they're going to be doing when they're 80. You're investing in their process. You're investing in their beginning blooms. You're investing in their beginning chain, their beginning flower, and you're investing in that. And you're showing them that there's a way to stay in their rural communities and grow and blossom. So we have a real organization that's all built around the students and benefiting them. A cool piece to this is advisors. So we link them with professionals in the community. So if they want to be an architect and they have an idea that would take an architect, we pair them with an architect in our community. Or we pair them with a real estate professional. We pair them with people in the community to give them those, for lack of a better term, shortcuts. You know, the direct to the source and the knowledge that they need, selective knowledge, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So after a year, this was all during COVID, okay? I put Laser Edge on the back burner because I had no one to sell the Tuffy heads to because everyone was closed, and I didn't understand e-commerce at this point. As an engineer, I've never understood what that was. I focused all the attention on building this, and it turned out that this came to be one of my many valued flowers in my life. And it taught me that the successful entrepreneur, it's not about the money, it's not about the profit, it's not about what they take home, it's about the positivity and how someone leaves the business, whether it's a customer or whether it's a coworker. It's about giving. It's about giving positive energy, and it can be implemented in a community, this positivity and this mindset of creating the most value for our community and customers and members. This is what our rural communities and frankly, our entire nation is dealing with. Has anyone seen this chart before? Yeah, I see a couple head nods both ways. Okay, so for those of you who haven't, it's basically showing the big brands, okay? The big brands that have eaten up, literally eaten up, some of these smaller brands. And we live in we live in a very take society in some aspects right now, and especially in the business world, a very brutal world. And I believe it's changing with social media, and I think we're exposing the more information that's available, charts like this showing what's actually going on, the more knowledge we all get and the more we can understand. So our communities, we're competing against this. We're competing against a lot of takers who, frankly, in my opinion, are creating products that are not healthy and not necessarily good for our consumers, and sometimes misleading marketing. So branding, this is where I realized that branding is everything. In our rural communities, they're missing the brand. They have the community, they have it all. Guys, like when a branding company comes in, these rural communities, they have it. They have their culture. We need to teach them how to brand it, how to get that out there to whether it's tourism or whether it's recreational activities, no matter what it is, brand is everything. And when it comes to brand, there's even a term called personal branding you're going to be hearing about this major. Personal branding is within communities, the person. So whether it's an organization or whether it's a community, you record yourself and you record your viewpoint on everything, and you're part of a community, but you record and post about you. And those personal brands are ultimately what are going to build bigger brands, because that's the truth. Anyone in a boardroom can say, okay, we're going to push sustainability, we're going to push this, we're going to say we do this, but it's the people. When the people create content and they create their brand, that's what's going to define our communities. And if we can show our rural communities how to do that on an individual level, how the individuals of their community can start building brand, you'll get content that the city or the organization or whatever can use. And guess what? It's natural content. There's no stage in the field. There's no actors anymore. There's no prescription medication commercials. It's none of that. It's real. And that's the future, is the real content and branding that's coming up. This is a digital world, guys. We are going digital. We're there. NFTs. Have we heard about NFTs? Yeah, some head nods. Good. Okay. Crypto's crazy right now. Blockchain, artificial intelligence. They are here, and it doesn't matter what we think. They're here. Based on what the market says, they're here to stay. We have started out as humans finding meaning through the stars, right? Then we started writing on walls, finding meaning with those. And we came up with books and magazines. We then started listening to sound being delivered with the radio. We started the television, we had picture and sound all at once. And now this is what we're living in. This is the market. This is reality. These devices, whether it's a phone or whether it becomes glasses or whether it becomes a contact implant, no matter what it becomes, we're going that direction. We are going digital. And with digital comes breaking news, urgency, distraction, and we're not accustomed to it because this is a totally new world with having it in our pockets, vibrating and alerts and the television. And this can be misconstruing sometimes and distracting and invoke fear. This is a big problem now, and there's hidden agendas sometimes in these. We'll get to the solution. We have a solution for this. But we need to stay well aware. That's what Shelton taught me. You got to be a global perspective. You got to know what's going on in the world, not just in front of you. So talking about NFTs, we're just going to mention this real quick. Non-fungible tokens. Okay, these are going to be very, very important to everything that we do. It's basically a tangible item that's put on the blockchain. So whether it's right now, you're probably hearing a lot about art. These images of monkeys that are going for millions of dollars. But the reality is, it's going to be everything. It's going to be our receipts. When we have a receipt from a hotel, or whether we go to a concert, or whatever we do, it's our physical proof that's on the blockchain that we own it, that we went there. Okay, and NFTs, so we as organizations, we need to think about, and as businesses, and as rural communities, this is up and coming. We are at the beginning stages. We're in the gold rush of NFTs. It's gonna level out, but we need to implement these across these rural communities. Crypto, right now, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever happens, okay, we're gonna have some type of digital asset. It's not gonna be on paper anymore. It's just not as efficient. The banking system is outdated. There are much better ways to transfer and handle money on this new blockchain, and we must embrace crypto and begin learning about it, especially in these rural communities, and how we can begin to utilize it. Blockchain, we need to research it. This needs to be talked about in our school systems. This needs to be talked about because we're at this inception point. These rural communities, we've been behind. We know we've been behind in some aspects. It's time, we're at a level playing field now. This is new to everyone. And we have a chance to make our stand and bring our culture and what we stand for into a digital realm that may be uncomfortable, but the future generations, our youth, it'll keep them there if we can. And lastly, AI. AI is going to play a role in our lives, and whether what scale you believe or where you see it, it will. We need to be thinking about it, and we need to be talking about it. We need to be having the conversation and not get distracted by the fears of what the media has to say about this or that. We need to have structure. And so what we've come up with in the YES program is this concept of champions. So we're all good at something. We all like something. You know, maybe when I said crypto, your eyes glazed over. Or whether I said blockchain, you're like, forget that. I'm not into that. That's life. That's humanity. That's people. That's humans. That's what we do. Like, we like some things and we don't others. And that's just the way we're built. We're a community for a reason. Together we are strong. Together we have the knowledge. So, the idea of champions is to have a champion for the different topics that we believe are important to keep up with the current events, and to assign a champion in the community to keep up with those current events and that loves looking at those, and for them to build their personal brand around that concept. So say there's an architect who loves all the up and coming architecture. That architect is responsible for providing the up and coming reading materials and things to keep the community informed and to keep the community on a track where you're getting legitimate, sustainable resources to stay on track of everything. So this is just now starting, but I'm sure we'll hear more about it later on. So all of this, while this was going on, I was navigating Laser Edge. So we put Laser on the back burner. COVID cleaned up, COVID went away, whatever, it somehow vanished. And now Laser Edge was booming again. So all while I was teaching, we grew Laser Edge to a 14,000 square foot facility. We had a team of 10. This was the garage that we were in previously. And it was because of community and because of what I was learning in the classroom. Not what I was giving to the students, but what they were making me think about. And the chain of thought. Bloom where you're planted. These students, they want to stay in their rural community. They love it. But when I ask them if they're going to stay, it's a oh, not. Because they see it. They see what their opportunity is in their current setup. And building communities, no matter how much we revitalize them, no matter how much effort we put into building the buildings up, if we can't get our youth to stay, we're losing our culture. We're losing our people. We're losing our grassroots of the community. So we need to pair these efforts with youth and with teaching. So now that I became a entrepreneur, I built a business, then I started getting looked at by the economic part of Mount Airy. I started getting involved in these meetings and thinking about how we can build Mount Airy. So, we had the CEO of the hospital, the chairman of education. We had all these, a chairman of the board. We had all these very established individuals. Andre Nance, we got to work on his personal branding, right? This is what I mean, personal branding. Like we We got to show our community that it matters. In a digital world, branding matters. When you go meet someone, it matters what's on their profile, whether it's LinkedIn or whether it's TikTok or Instagram or whatever, Facebook or whatever social platform. We need to brand ourselves. It's so important in the digital world. So we gathered a group of individuals. We didn't have an economic committee in Mount Airy. So we established this committee of economic people to decide what we needed to do. So we did an analysis similar to what you guys do. However, they broke it up into different districts. So Mount Airy is a little larger than I think the communities that you all deal with or go and serve. So we broke it up. We had a downtown committee, we had a recreation committee, and we were just so happened to be on this economic committee. So I just want to share with you a couple points that we came up with from Mount Airy. That's right neighbors with Pilot Mountain that you all served only a couple years ago. We came up with very similar. We did a SWOT analysis. We came up with similar strengths and weaknesses as Pilot. We have a great location. We have mountains. We have rivers. We have so much opportunity there. It's very inexpensive to live there compared to Charlotte and compared to these big cities. And especially in a digital world, that's very alluring. You can work remotely, and you can have a very nice way of living. However, we do have weaknesses. We don't have these professional workforce development opportunities, and we have a very weak social media and branding presence, which is very important for a tourist town like Mayberry. Andy Griffin. Opportunities, targeted workforce development, and inventory, so properties. You guys, I know, deal with a lot of buildings. There are a lot of architects in the room. We have a lot of buildings in Mount Airy of empty space that we can vitalize. So these were what we came up with for the economic. We said we got to utilize the inventory, and we need to provide incentives. We need to provide incentives not only for our businesses, but also for our youth. And the youth became a critical aspect of this economic board. We realized that our youth are coming up. Like our workforce, they are our workforce in just a couple years. And revitalizing buildings, that takes time, as you guys know. And before we know it, our youth that we're having schools that we're not teaching these skills to, they're eventually going to be the ones leading. So we came up with that it was so important to get them involved in this process of looking at our industrial parks, seeing what potential we have, seeing what plots of land. And to date, the economic strategy has been attraction. Let's bring in big businesses. Let's bring in chains. Let's bring in employers to employ our rural community. However, we turned that backwards, and we're fighting for it because we believe that we are in this new age where we can create. Businesses can be scaled today like no other. You can have a massive business being built in a year or two with the proper knowledge and resources. We can do it. We no longer need to rely on these big brands that eat up other companies that have market share. We don't have to rely on them anymore. We can create our own, especially in these rural communities where they have the community and the culture already, because culture is the hardest thing that you can build in a business. It's the hardest thing because you can't. It's very hard to put money and put marketing behind it. You truly, culture is real. People's feelings and emotions towards something are real. And if you go into corporate America and you go into a lot of these big businesses, you speak to the people, you'll realize what the real culture is there. And these rural communities, that's natural to them. And that's the real asset here. So business incentives, and we also came up with educational incentives. Long-term action plan, we came up with an action plan as well. However, the difference, we put this at the bottom. Happiness. Our youth want to be happy. They truly, they see it around them. They realize that the go-getting attitude, put your head down and grind, it's less with them. However, we need to pair that mindset with the technology and with the opportunity. This is a depiction of what I've seen from our youth. They don't need a lot. They truly just want to be happy. It doesn't appeal to them. They see it. They see the business world that's been created, and it's clear to them. Their perspective is very clear at this infantile state, and they're willing to take less money. They're willing to do things if they can be happy, and I see it in their eyes. They want to stay, but the opportunity's not there. So this is a quick summary in addition to the different departments. So it's really encouraging. I know it's on the website with what you all are doing. It's really encouraging to see that this is happening in North Carolina and that you all are serving these different communities. And it was almost like a clear connection with the values and missions that we're all working towards. And after this experience with the economic planning, I truly realized that with our youth and with the trajectory that we're going on, we must focus on spiritual entrepreneurship and on truly providing the goal of building more consciousness in the world, building our communities up, building the happiness, building the things that we need in our lives, the things that are crucial to us, not the marketing materials that are asking us to buy something that we may not need. So what if, this is what we began asking ourselves in our youth, what if education is free? What if you didn't have to go to a four-year university that you couldn't afford or go into debt? It's real. It's right now. The power is right now. The power is with technology. You can learn the skills that you need to learn in order to achieve. I knew zip about business. And I just used YouTube. I used Google. Anything I didn't know, I Googled it. And it's what I did. And I had mentors that I never met before. And yet I somehow figured it out. If we compare that with our real life people, man, you're going to be unstoppable. And with Yes Surrey, we're developing this curriculum. With champions, we're going to have professional champions that teach architects. They teach what you really need to know. Okay? Real estate, they teach what you really need to know. Yes, sure. Okay, to be a doctor, you need a degree. You need a certification to go operate on someone, or you need a certification to sell real estate. I get it. The majority of jobs, though, you don't. You don't need a piece of paper of any sort. You need knowledge. And knowledge is not general. Knowledge is niche. We need to get very specific with our knowledge, because in our digital world, you'll pick up on all the general stuff that you need to know. You'll do it naturally. Next, what if we minimize? What if we minimize as communities? What if we minimize our spending? What if we realize we don't need to buy all those things that are on the ads, that are on these brainwashing commercials that incentivize? Growing Laser Edge, I'm now in the sales, I'm working on growth, and I see it. And I see what these marketing companies are doing. And I see the psychology that they use. And it is rough. I'm like, whoa, so that's what they're doing. They have a system, guys. There's a system to sales. There's a system to why are we buying? Why are we buying things that aren't good for us? Why are we buying these processed, ugly things and consuming our bodies with them? Well, because we were told, and they were told our brains, and they manipulated us to buy them and to think that they're good for us when they're not. So the fact is that I think for our rural communities, our consumers in our rural communities, I think that we need to minimize first. Before we implement these big plans of renovation, of building up our youth, I think we need to minimize the things that we have in our lives. And we need to deplete the egos and thinking that we need to buy outside things to get fulfillment. And I think we can do that through education. What if we grow, prepare, and process and distribute our own foods? What if we get off the dependency of these larger organizations that hold the market shares? Gardening's not hard, guys. Putting a greenhouse up is not difficult. And these rural communities, they know how to farm. They know how to produce their own food, but you know what? That Big Mac just tastes so good. What if we could build a community around these things while we minimize? What if all of our products on the shelves, what if they truly lasted a lifetime? What if we could buy something and know that we have it? And that, if it broke 10 years from now, you know what? It'll be replaced. It's insured. It's going to be built with quality, not ship it overseas, dump it off for 90 days, and as long as it lasts 90 days, we're good, boys. We made a profit. That's what's going on right now. we're making it as cheap as we can to last that warranty time. And guys, machine parts are literally built. They know when they're going to fail. And what if we could change that? And by building these businesses in our rural community and building the sustainability and incorporating these NFTs, receipts, it's on the blockchain, it's proven. You no longer have to keep this piece of paper or it's sitting in your email. It's in your digital wallet. It will be there forever and everyone can see it. And no one can ever take it from you. So incorporating these ideas into digital assets is so important. What if we share business costs? Laser Edge was so difficult to get started up, but my local community, working in a cabinet shop, all of this was so critical to me to be able to have those resources to build. What if we could, in our rural communities, what if we could share those startup costs in order to truly build a community of self-sufficiency and pride and culture? What if we rid ourselves of fear and challenge the norms? These rural communities, we have the potential to do that. We have the potential to brand ourselves as one, to push our personal brands as one. The utopian vision, it started sounding a little utopian, like, what if? Fact is that it's now. Utopian visions have all failed in the past. The reason they failed is because we're looking into the future, which it doesn't exist yet. We have to focus on the now, and that's what you all are doing. CPN, you're going to the communities. What is going on right now, and how can we change it? Here's the action plan. Let's get this done. Here are the professionals that are going to help you. That's what we need to push. That's what we need to push all over the state. That's what we need to push on the country, and give ourselves the resources and truly encourage and get our youth involved to pursue what they love. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to lead you through the chain of flowers and allow you to bloom the way that you want to bloom, and allow us to recollect and to see the journey of ourselves, and to frankly just become one as a community again, and rely on each other and determine what do we want our culture to be, and start thinking about that. So I applaud you guys. I'm honored to be in front of you all because I value you all so much on my particular path. I see myself in many of you, and I want to be like you all and help the community. So if there's any way that I can help, I would love to, and I appreciate meeting each of you and to listening to the journey that brought me here, that brought us together and introduced us. So thanks for listening.